Hello, we're members of the Edinburgh LDV, the Local Defence Volunteers. We're based on living history from 1940, and we show the early Home Guard. And we sort of show the make, do and mend attitude of defending the country. So as an example of that, here we have the Home Guard mortar. So this would have been made in somebody's shed. The government would issue instructions on how to make them. No idea if they'd have worked. They were never fired in anger. This is a copy of one from the Imperial War Museum. It would have fired a tin can that you'd light the wick. It would have a blank shotgun shell in one end. You'd pop the tin can down it, fire the trigger and hope it worked. Something that you could make at home. Likewise, you'd also have weapons that probably came from the First World War. So this is a trench club. Quite a medieval looking weapon with its hobnails. It's a pickaxe handle cut down to size, hobnails, a bit of lead, and it's quite a brutal looking weapon. They'd also make things like this. Looks like a pipe, but they'd also put a knife in it just to give it a slight edge. Something you can make at home. The grenades, syrup tins full of probably gunpowder, ball bearings, bits of glass and so on. Light the wick, throw it at the enemy and hope they don't kick it back at you. So as well as having these sort of weapons, you'd also have the Molotov cocktails, things that you can stop a tank with. So the rubber in the far end there, that's to help it stick, to help it burn. You lob a couple of these at the back end of a tank, it'll overcook the engine. You can also hoy it at the viewing ports of a tank and you can blind a tank. So very, very effective weapons at stopping vehicles. Now, when the LDV started, they were called the Broomstick Army. And here we have Sergeant Morsman with his broomstick. The idea being that they would drill with it, they could train with it. You could learn how to become a soldier. If you were lucky, you'd have a bayonet fitted to the end, and you'd have a pike. Not the most intimidating weapon, but nevertheless it was something. Now, if you were lucky, you might have access to a shotgun, a farming implement. Nevertheless, if you could get a couple of rounds, you could fire them, you could use it, you could kill a paratrooper, you could defend the homestead. Now, again, they would also go to the museums. And here we have a Martini Henry rifle, an original Victorian weapon, more commonly recognised in the film Zulu. But nevertheless, the Home Guard used it for training. They could fire rounds. It was still a serviceable military rifle. Now, as well as having all this, eventually the LDV became standardised. They became known as the Home Guard. And the Home Guard is obviously something that you'll recognise from TV as Dad's Army.